This is a video about the updates to the remote control plugin. The remote control plugin, for those of you who are not familiar with it, allows you to use a app or a web-based application to control Mini and the camera inside a Talespire without having to have Talespire. This is useful for GMs that want to introduce players to Talespire, but for times when the players have not yet committed to buying Talespire. Typically, it's used with a streaming solution so that the players can see what is going on in Talespire, and then they can use the remote control plugin to actually interact with Talespire. So the plugin has the movement for the character, movement for the camera, rotations for the character, rotations for the camera. But more recently, we have added the dice option. So you can type in a dice formula like 3 dice 6 plus 2 and send that, and that will appear in Talespire. If you happen to have the auto roll plugin, it will also automatically roll those dice. Okay. Um, uh, Another improvement that has been added recently is the movement style. So previously, all of the movement in Talespire has been done with basically a teleportation style movement. So your character just appeared at the next tile or whatever your movement amount was without transitioning the space in between. So the newest update to Talespire Remote Control plugin adds different movement styles. Now there is a few movement styles that come with the plugin, but the plugin has been made in such a way that it is really easy to add your own move styles. So let me demonstrate a few that come with the plugin. We do have slide. So all I do here is under style, I select the style. That will send that with the rest of the information to Talespire, and that will trigger the style that we are looking for. If the style doesn't exist, it defaults to the teleport type of movement. So slide does a gradual transition between the place that you're at and the destination. Pretty simple. Then we have also the lift slide, which basically lifts the um, mini just a little off the ground and slides it across to indicate that it's being moved. Then we do have the hop, which is trying to emulate the core TS movement. It's not really an exact match, but kind of along that line. And then as a finale bonus, we have the drunk. As you can see, the drunk is staggering all over the place. He does move in the correct direction, but on the way he kind of wobbles left and right while doing so. Okay, so that's basically it. Those are the styles that happen to come with the plugin. But as I said, it is fairly easy to add your own. So let's have a quick look at that. So this is what a movement file looks like. Movement files are just regular JSON files with a RMV, remote move extension, so that the plugin can easily find which files are associated with movement. It's fairly easy. The JSON has a name, which identifies the name of the movement. That is the name that you're going to be using in the remote control to trip that type of movement. And then it has a collection of steps, a list of steps. Each step is basically a part of the animation. The general uh, sort of the general convention that I've been sticking with is to make the whole animation last 1 second. There is a configuration on your on the plugin to make the whole thing animate faster or slower. So if you stick to the convention that a animation should last 1 second, then when the speed is adjusted on the plugin, it'll speed up or slow down all animations equally. Now, there's nothing forcing that, but that's just the convention so that we have consistency. So the animation is made up of a number of steps. In this particular case, it happens to be 10 steps of 1/10 of a second, giving that 1 second that I was talking about. Okay, so what does all this information mean? It kind of looks complicated. It's not. Basically, what we have is the plugin figures out the starting position and the ending position that the asset has to move and calls that the path. The number that you're indicating here is what percentage of the way the mini has moved along that path. So basically what this is saying is at the first step, we're going to move the mini 10% of the way, and we're going to delay 1/10 of a second. Then we're going to move the mini 20% of the way, delay a second, and so on and so forth. Note that this is not a relative value. It is a percentage of the full path. So I'm not adding 10%. Like you can see that each step is not 10%. It is 10%, 20%. So ideally, your path should end with 1.0, i.e. the mini has moved 100%. If you do not, it does force the mini at the very end of the animation to the end position. So um, it will end up in the right place no matter what. But of course, if you've gotten only 50% of the way through your animation, there's going to be a huge jump at the end. Okay, so that's path. What's tangent? Well, tangent is basically when we are moving along a path, the tangent, not mathematically correct, but the tangent in this case is a path that's 90 degrees, so perpendicular. What that means is when we're moving along a path, for example, the drunken sailor is moving along the tangent, which means he's going to be swerving left or right, depending on if you use a positive or negative value for the tangent. So by increasing the number on path, he's still moving in the path's direction, but along the way, he is also moving either left or right, perpendicular to the path. Okay, elevation, same kind of concept, except instead of going left and right, it goes up and down. So when you're doing things like the hop, you're going to put positive values here. I can't imagine that you'd want to use negative values, which would be going into the ground, but I don't know, if you've got some kind of a character that digs or something like that, go right ahead. It will support it. And then we've got rotations. So while we're moving, we can also rotate the character. So for example, in the hop, you can see that the character is kind of rotating a little bit forward. If we were going to do some kind of a shimmy, we might want to rotate along the y-axis to turn 90 degrees and then turn back, and so on and so forth. So basically, these are the rotations that are applied. And again, it takes the um, orientation of your mini and then applies these in addition to. And once again, they are um, kind of absolute. So they don't over each step, they don't add, they just replace. So if you wanted to do something like the hop, you can see that it would be basically slowly increasing the number and then going back down. Once again, the orientation will get corrected at the end of the sequence. So again, if you don't get back to a 000, it will force that at the end of the sequence, but it could be a little jarring. So ideally, if you have any rotations, you want to kind of end off with a rotation of 000, because that will make a smooth transition. And delay, we've already discussed. Delay is just how long it waits on that step before going to the next one. So that's about it. With this, you really have freedom to make all kinds of different movements that will work with the plugin. So if you're not happy with what I've provided, or you want to make your own, or you just want to adjust the ones I made, go right ahead. Now you have the tools. And that's about it. Just a quick note for making your custom movements. It is important that the name be unique, because that is how it's going to reference the movement. If your name is not unique, it will throw an error. It will recover from the error, but it will give you an error in the logs saying that you have a repeated name, and it will only use the first one. So that's one thing to watch out for. And the second thing to watch out for is all of the movement files are read at the beginning of um, the startup of the plugin. It will search through other plugins folders for RMV files, so you can make a pack with movement files, but they are read at the beginning of the plugin startup. So that means if you're running Talespire and you create a new movement file or modify a movement file, it will not take effect until you restart Talespire. And now that's really it.